Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all well. My name is Tadagenais, and I'm the host of Self-Sabotage Solutions. On this podcast, it's my opportunity and my pleasure to be able to share everything I know about self-sabotage so that you can overcome self-sabotage in your life. Now, today I'm going to be talking about something that's extremely important in our life and moving towards the life that we want and achieving our dreams and our goals, and that's change, making changes. And I'm going to be talking about why it's so hard and why we often avoid making changes and sabotage our best efforts at making those changes and long lasting changes. And I'm going to be giving you some techniques and some tools so that you can address these reasons that we avoid making changes so that you can make changes easier in your life. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the feeling that we're afraid of making changes. And this comes up for a variety of reasons. Um, One of them, and one of the most common ones, is that we think we might fail. We think we might fail making that change, or we might fail in the process of, maybe we want to start a business. And so we want to start actually working towards creating that business. But on some level, we might think that we might fail, or we've been told by other people that we think we're going to fail. And so, deep down, maybe we don't think we're good enough. We don't think we're smart enough. We don't think we're, an expert enough, or we don't have enough experience to be able to run this business. And we think we're going to fail. So, to keep ourselves safe and to keep ourselves from failing, we don't even start. And I think what can address this is just looking at it and changing your perspective on it. Because the only real way that you fail is to never try. And I should replace try because I don't like using that word, because try inherently states that we might fail. It gives us an out. So if we don't even attempt, or if we don't even move towards our goals and you know go towards our goals, then and make actions and take steps towards our goals or towards making the changes, then we're failing automatically, because we're never going to be able to make those changes if we don't even move, do anything to actually bring us closer to it. So if we're completely avoiding it in general, that's the ultimate form of failure. We have deluded ourselves into thinking that we're not going to be able to do it, and so then we don't do it. It becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. And so we need to address the reasons why we think we might fail. Do you think you're not smart enough? Why? And you know, do you think that you are able to do this? Why do you think that you're not able to, start your own business? If you look at a lot of people who have started their own business, or who have, gone out of their way to do certain things, a lot of them were in a lot of like in like the same position as you, where they didn't think they were good enough. They didn't think they were going to be able to create the business they wanted to. They didn't have the schooling that everyone said was required. They didn't have all these things. But a lot of the greats, Albert Einstein, um, you know, uh, Paul Check, a bunch of other people, they didn't listen to what everyone else said. They didn't listen to people saying that you might fail, that you're not good enough, and they very well didn't listen to themselves saying that. They they proved themselves wrong, and that's what you need to do. Prove yourself wrong. Don't accept that. Get yourself out there and actually take steps towards your goals. If those steps you're taking aren't working out, you just need to address it and make different steps and take different actions that will bring you towards the life that you want. Just because something doesn't work out doesn't mean that you're done and it's over. It just means you learned that that thing didn't work and you got to try something else. The next reason why we might be afraid of change is because we won't fit in. Maybe we want to stop drinking, but all of our friends drink. So if we stop drinking, it's not going to feel the same going out with your friends to the bars or hanging out with them, because all they're doing is drinking, right? So a big part of humans in general is that we as humans, you know, do something called imitative learning. So we like to mimic the things and people around us because it allows us to fit in. It allows us to feel safe. It allows us to be a part of a tribe or of a group of friends, of society, or whatever, right? And if we're not fitting in, something feels off to us. So that could be a big reason why you might be afraid of making changes. Maybe you know that your friends always eat out at fast food restaurants and you want to stop eating that fast food, then you won't be able to go out with your friends to those fast food restaurants, or you'll have to watch them eat that garbage food, and you don't want to be stuck into it without doing it yourself. It's a very interesting point of view, but it is real. It's a real thing, and that's partially because there's a part of our mind, the subconscious, which this part of your mind, its main goal is to keep you safe, and it does that by helping you fit in with your surroundings. This is why peer pressure is so powerful. This is why peer pressure is um, such a powerful way to make us make those changes. Do something that we maybe wouldn't do originally. So ask yourself, what are you doing to fit in? What are you doing to be a part of your friends or be a part of your family? Is your family all eating unhealthy? Is your family never working out? Is your family all being very negative and attacking each other verbally or whatever, right? And something I think is important to note is this doesn't just matter for what's in real life. This part of your mind, the subconscious, is scanning your environment at all times, and it's even scanning the the screens, the televisions, your phone, the movies, your computer screens. It's scanning all these things and trying to understand what its best way to fit in with it is. So if you're watching shows like Shameless, if you're watching shows where they are constantly, assaulting their best selves and having things go wrong, this part of your mind's going to think that's normal. That's the best way to fit in. That we also have to, constantly be assaulting ourselves with junk food, be drinking ourselves into a stupor, to be cheating on each other, to be picking fights, getting into arguments. That is how this part of your mind works. It's drawn to the familiar. So you want to make sure it has good things to mimic, it has good things to imitate. You don't want to be providing yourself, you know, bad influences, bad role models, bad, people to mimic and to, um, imitate. So, and it does work the other way too. You can program or get your friends to mimic what you're doing, but you do have to be careful because sometimes you might go back into that, and a lot of times people will go right back into what they were doing before, especially when they're surrounded by a group of people doing that thing. So, I know when I stopped drinking, people, and I think this is important to know as well, that the people who see you leaving their group, that see you, stop drinking, it makes them uncomfortable because one, maybe they want to stop drinking and they told themselves they're not able to, or two, they know it's so bad for them, but they don't want to give it up. On some level they know that the alcohol and the junk food is bad for them, but they don't want to give it up. And so when you're quitting it, it makes them realize just how bad it is, and it reinforces that. And then they see this member of their tribe, this member of their group leaving and starting to better themselves. And so they will often lash out or try to pull you back in. It's kind of like if you ever seen crabs in a bucket and these crabs are trying to escape. And usually what you will see is the crabs on the bottom will pull back the crabs who are trying to escape out of the bucket, and they'll keep them inside with them. If you're stuck, I'm stuck. And that's kind of the way that happens in real life with, friends and family as well. And I don't think it's like a conscious thing where they're trying to, you know, hold you down or hold you back consciously. It's a subconscious thing. It's just like I said, this part of your mind is trying to keep you safe as much as possible, and it knows that the bigger of a group you're in, the bigger of a tribe you're in, the safer you are. So when people start to leave that tribe or do something different than that tribe, this part of your mind's like, oh no, alarm, alarm. You got to keep this person back into it. So like when I stopped drinking and when I gone out to places where people are drinking, they always try to get me to drink. Come on, just have a drink. I tell them like no like 20 times and they still ask me, right? Until finally they just give up. So, and they might not even realize they're doing that, right? But it's because they're trying to get you to fit in with them. And that's how it'll make them feel more comfortable if you did it, right? So, there's a big reason why we're afraid of change is we feel like we won't fit in. We feel like we might fail. We feel like we aren't good enough. Like we're never going to be good enough to be able to do this thing. Or maybe we feel like we don't deserve it. So maybe we want to be healthier, or we want to have a good relationship. But we let's say for the relationship, we cheated on someone in the past. So we don't believe we deserve having a good partner. So we always go out and pick someone who's horrible. Or maybe we were told by something from our parents like you were never going to be good enough or no one's going to love you, or by maybe a past partner like an ex or something, and they told you these things, and then on some level you created that belief, and so when you're going out to pick new partners, you're that's what's in your mind is that you're never going to be lovable, you're never going to be good enough, you don't deserve someone like this, and then you'll go out and pick someone who's abusive towards you. You go out and pick someone who's not good because you're on some level you believe that's what you deserve. You believe you deserve to be unhealthy. You believe you're not, deserving of money. You believe you're not deserving of these things, right? So you got to look at what your beliefs are. That brings me to my next point. Is we have conflicting goals, thoughts, or beliefs, and that's why making these changes can be so difficult. So let's say, some of your goals is, or one of your goals is you want to be wealthy, right? But you have a belief or a thought that money is the money is the root of all evil. Or maybe your thought is, money doesn't grow on trees and money is really hard to come by. Or maybe your belief is that wealthy people are greedy and evil. Well, if you want to be wealthy, if that's one of your goals, and you're holding these beliefs, those are conflicting. That's going to stop you from being wealthy because whenever you get that money, you're going to want to get rid of it. And you see this all the time with like lottery winners, or you see this with uh, sports stars, or famous actresses or singers, where they get all this money and they get millions of dollars per year, and they go and spend all that money right away, and then they don't have any more money like a couple of years down the line, or when they're done working, or if they're lottery winners, usually they're more broke than they were two or three before they won 2 to 3 years down the line. So why does this happen? Is and people have been asked about this, and one of them was a garbage man, and what he said is that he just didn't feel comfortable with the money. Right? He was garbage man before he won the lottery. He spent it all on drugs and hookers and partying and things like that. And people asked him why he spent all his money, and he said he didn't feel comfortable having that money. That he felt better as a garbage man. And that's because remember this part of your mind is trying to keep things familiar, kind of trying to keep you safe. So it knew that being a garbage man was safe. It knew that it allowed him to fit in with his group of friends, with his tribe. People didn't treat him differently back when he didn't have this money. So he wanted to go back to it so he could feel the way he used to feel because there was some safety within it, right? So you got to change, address those thoughts and beliefs. If you want to be wealthy, you got to address the belief that all people with a lot of money are evil or greedy. A lot of those people who have a lot of money, they did something to earn it, right? They created a business and they helped a bunch of people get jobs. Helped provide a lot of services to people, right? So they did do work. They did do create something to help someone else, to benefit someone else, and that's really what it is, right? You know, money is not the root of all evil. It's just a tool. It's just a thing. It's just a form of energy that we use to trade services and things. So money itself is not evil. People behind money, people who are greedy, can be wealthy. There's no doubt about that. There can be some greedy wealthy people, It doesn't mean all people who are wealthy are greedy, right? A lot of people who are wealthy give money away. They give it away. They donate to charity. They do, all different kinds of nice things for other people because they just want to share that with other people, right? I think you'll find that if you start talking to a lot of wealthy people, a lot of them are actually not evil. A lot of them are not um, so against us and so against other people getting more money. And I think there's a lot of wealth programming within our society and within TV shows and movies. One is Titanic, and if you look at the very beginning of Titanic, there's a lot of anti-wealth programming where Jack is um, totally against the wealthy, and the I think Rose is stuck up there with all the wealthy people, and they're all stuck up, and they're you know, and then she goes down and hangs out with Jack, and it's so much fun. It's so amazing. They're having such a good time, but all the people who are wealthy don't have a good time. They're all stuck up and conceited, right? So there's our mind sees that and says, "Oh, we don't want to be wealthy. We want to have a good time. We want to enjoy ourselves." Right? The next one is next belief or thought that you might have is, maybe you want a relationship. You want to be able to find that perfect partner. You want to be able to marry someone. But maybe deep down, and maybe you've been hurt, maybe you've been hurt a lot of times, and you believe that all women or all men are immature, jerks, liars, are evil, are, going to are out to get you, right? You believe that the opposite gender, the gender that you're looking for, or just the gender in general that or the person that you want to date is evil, like, or everyone who's like them is not a good person. So what you're going to find is you're going to be looking for that. Your mind is going to be looking for someone who is immature, is a jerk, who's a liar, who's going to abuse you, who's going to treat you wrong, because you believe that everyone, all men are like that. So you're going to be finding someone to fill that role. And I like to think of it like this. The universe and life is always conspiring in our favor. And what that means is if you are telling yourself you're going to be finding something horrible, you're oftentimes going to find that horrible thing. If you're always looking for like a yellow car, you're going to be seeing a lot more yellow cars. That's just the way it works. And it's something that you need to understand is that our minds are much more powerful than we're led to believe. We are connected, I believe, um, with everything around us. We all have some form of connection. And I think it's because we all are made of energy. If with new scientific research and understanding, you know we know we are all are made of atoms, right? But if you look down further, you go into the quantum physics of it. What are the atoms made up of? There's three different particles that atoms are made up of, and I can't right now. They're not coming to my mind what those were, but they're essentially just energy. These quantum particles are essentially just energy, and it makes up everything. Everyone is some form of energy. That's why when you walk into a room and maybe there's a big fight going on, or someone is very upset, you can usually feel that energy. You can usually feel like you walk in, you're, oh, something is going on right now, right? Like, have you ever walked into like a funeral and you just felt like that sadness and that hurt and that grieving? Or if you walk into a party and you hear everyone dance and you feel it, you feel that energy, right? There's a big difference between the two. And there's a reason why, is because we are all made up of energy. And we can all send out energy to each other. And we can all affect the universe in a way as well. Because if we can make ourselves and other people feel, good or happy or bad, we can do that for the universe as well. And we can create our reality essentially. So that's why it's so important you look at what your reoccurring thoughts are. Are you constantly telling yourself you're not good enough? Are you constantly berating yourself? Are you constantly assaulting yourself with the way you're speaking? Many times we wouldn't ever say these things to a loved one or to a friend. We wouldn't tell our friend or a loved one that they're not good enough. that they're not smart enough, that they'll never be able to have that love, right? But we're saying it to ourselves. We're treating ourselves like garbage, like something that's not important. But we really need to treat ourselves much better, because when other people say something nice to us, right, it feels really good. It feels really good, and we need to hear it. But the problem is they only can say those things every so often. And we are constantly berating ourselves and, coming up with our own thoughts every single moment of every single day. So if you're able to change your thinking to overall positive, to overall, you know, telling yourself good things, that can make a huge difference. So, these are things like creating affirmations. What are you saying to yourself? And I think it's important you go into like, I am good enough. I am strong enough. I am able to make these changes. And you want to usually talk in the present tense. You don't want to say in the future I will be. Um, if you feel like you're lying to yourself, just say I am working towards being healthier every day. Say something like that. And I made a whole video about affirmations. So if you want to learn how to create, you know, affirmations, then make sure you check out my other video or my other podcast here on how to create affirmations. So the next thing we want to look at is, for these reoccurring thoughts and conflicting goals, thoughts, and beliefs, is the difference between the subconscious and the conscious mind, right? We talked about this a little bit, where they're conflicting, right? But and why does this happen? Well, there's two different parts of our mind. There is the conscious part of our mind, and this part of our mind holds our dreams, our goals. It's the part of our mind that is able to fantasize, to usually think long term, and think about, oh, I want to be healthy. I want to, marry the perfect person. I want to have the perfect family. I want to work at this job or do exactly what I want to be able to do within my life. I want to be able to lay on a beach someplace. And then you have your subconscious part of your mind, which is much more like a record player or like a storage device. And what its main goal and its main ability is to be constantly looking for something that will to be constantly looking for something to make it safe, the safest action to play, like I was talking about before. And the way it does this is it's just marking everything down. Like, let's say it has a piece of paper, like there's a piece of paper in your hand, right? And if you're everyone on the podcast, I have a notebook in my hand. So every time your subconscious mind sees something in its environment, it's noting it down and writing it down, right? And the more times it sees it, the more times it matches. Hey, it says that, this person talked about eating unhealthy. This person talked about eating McDonald's. This person talked about eating Burger King. This person talked about eating, Subway. This person talked about eating Jack in the Box, right? This person talked about eating Popeyes and KFC. Hey, look, these are all the same. These are all fast food restaurants. These are all junk food, and there's multiple different people saying them. That's going to reinforce your want to be eating that way. So the more times you see something, the more times you hear something, the more that your subconscious mind is going to be drawn to it. So the main things that make it so your subconscious mind is drawn to it is if it's repeated. The more times it's repeated, right? If it sees a group of people doing something, right? Remember the peer pressure. That's why it's so powerful. The more people it sees doing something, the more your subconscious mind is going to be drawn to it. The more that, or let's say you get positive recognition for it. So let's say you go out and eat, that McDonald's, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that looks so good. Oh, come over here and let's hang out, and you also have a good time, right? You're gonna feel good about that. But let's say you were eating that McDonald's and someone said, oh, you're eating that crap, you're eating that junk. That's so gross. That's so disgusting. If people told you that all the time when you were eating it, do you think you'd be wanting to eat it as much anymore? No, but that's because that's the way your subconscious mind works, and consciously as well. So it would affect us on both levels for that. But, you know, positive reinforcement for something, that's what will draw it towards. Like, let's say you are a kid and you see a bunch of other kids kicking a dog and they're all laughing and screaming and having a fun time hurting that animal. you might associate hurting animals with having a good time. That's the way our mind will work. It's that imitative learning I'm talking about. So you got to be aware of these things, of how your subconscious mind is being influenced, right? And you'll see is you might have a conscious goal to eat healthy, but subconsciously you also just saw everyone else eating at all those fast food restaurants, right? And so when you want to start eating healthy, you have this belief that eating the fast food is, it's good. It's what society does. It's the safe thing to do. So when you're trying to eat healthy, you hit that wall, and then your subconscious mind will try to pull you back to eating unhealthy because everyone around you is doing it. Everyone around you is eating unhealthy, and that's really the way it works. Is that this part of your mind is trying to keep you safe, and it's not like it's broken. It's actually working exactly how it's designed to. The problem is that our society has gone down a darker path, has gone down a path that, is full of toxic food, is full of negative thinking, is full of people not being themselves. We see rates of addiction skyrocketing. We see people or obesity rates skyrocketing. We see people getting sick all the time and diseases increasing. We see all these things happening despite the fact that we are the most advanced we've ever been, despite the fact that um, you know, we have the most technology we've ever had, despite the fact that we have the most knowledge we've ever had. So there's a reason why this is happening. Part of it is that that's the way society is set up right now. Is that it's set up in that way, and that the companies and the agencies there to protect us aren't going to be protecting us. That's why we need to address, our thoughts and beliefs and be able to change what our influences are. You got to turn off that TV. The TV, if you've been watching TV shows and movies and social media and other things like that, TikToks, look at what it's promoting. Look at what you might be picking up on. Think about what your subconscious mind might be seeing. Remember repetition. What is a group doing? And what has positive or negative reinforcement. So you got to be able to align your subconscious and your conscious mind so that they have the same goal, right? Your subconscious mind is not thinking long term; it's thinking short term. The best way to act in a certain situation to make you safe, or to get you that instant satisfaction. The next one is we don't know our why. Why are you trying to make this change? Why is it important to you? How will this change change your life? So if you're trying to eat healthy, why do you want to eat healthy? Have you thought about it? Yeah, it'll make you feel better. It maybe you can start to feel good about yourself. How is it going to change your life? Really think about these things. Go into detail, write it down. The next step is to create a plan. So, we haven't created a plan when we're trying to make these changes, and that's part of the reason why it's making these changes is hard, because we're just going off the cusp. We're just saying, oh, we want to be healthy, and that's all. But if you don't know where you're going, then anywhere will get you there. And what I mean by that is, how do you know you're going in the right direction if you don't know what steps you need to be taking, if you don't know the moves that you need to be doing, right? So what you can think about is the small goals. A lot of people miss these small goals, the small steps. They just think about the giant steps, right? They think about, hey, I'm eating, I'm unhealthy now, and I want to be healthy. So I'll eat healthy food, and I'll work out, and boom, I'm there, right? But they don't think about the small steps. So what do you got to do from the day to day? You got to prepare that healthy food. You got to buy the healthy food. You got to actually eat the healthy food, and you got to, start to avoid and cut out those negative foods. But you got to take those steps, the small actions every single day to take you to your goal. You got to visualize what you want, and that's really important because the subconscious mind is really into visualization. So the more you visualize what you want, the more important it can be. or the more effective it can be. So if you are visualizing, let's say, your goals, your dreams, like you're thinking about why, like how your life will change, right? You're thinking about that. Think, picture yourself now and then picture yourself maybe where you want to be. Think about it like, what kind of houses are you living in? Where do you live? How do you spend your time? Who's with you? Literally picture those things. So are you in like a new truck? Are you living on your own land? Are you around, maybe a husband and you have kids, or you have a wife and you have a family, or maybe you don't even have a family and you just living off in, the middle of an island with, some friends or whatever it is. What are you working towards long term, right? Visualize these things. Visualize yourself doing the small actions. Visualize yourself doing the long-term goals as well. And you can think about also vision boards. So print off, pictures of the things you want. Put on those affirmations onto the vision board. A vision board is essentially just pictures of things that you are aspiring to, things that are your goals. So if you want to eat healthy, put pictures of healthy food. Put pictures of someone who has a healthy body. Pictures of, someone smiling, someone laughing, those sorts of things, right? Because you want to visualize that. The more times you see those things, is the more your subconscious mind is going to be drawn to it. So put it someplace that you see it all the time. I have a vision board on my background on my computer, and I see that every day. It's important. So, like I was talking about with the long-term goals, go into detail. Really think about yourself, what kind of house you're living in, and close your eyes and just picture yourself going there. If you think you're not a person who can visualize things, I want you to do this for me. Don't, and I'm saying don't do this, please. Don't picture a purple elephant balancing on a lime green rug holding a bright yellow lemon in his trunk. If you're like me and if you're like the majority of people, you're going to be visualizing that, even if I said don't, right? So that's why you got to think about, or yes, we got to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. You are a visual person. We all are very visual people. Allow yourself, change your thoughts and your beliefs towards if you're visual or not, and allow yourself to use that amazing tool. Visual, visualize yourself, completing your goals. Visualize yourself speaking in front of other people. A lot of sports athletes say that they go before they go play or do a match or do go into a game. They visualize what they're going to be doing out on the field. They visualize what they're going to be doing on the ice rink. They visualize what they're going to be doing on the court, right? They think about what they're going to be doing because they have a game plan. They created that plan in their head already, and things might change. That's an important thing to know about the plans is that you may have a step-by-step goal process. Doesn't mean you have to follow it exactly. You can amend to it, but you have that plan so that way you kind of know what you want to do. You have a direction of where you want to go. And if you need to amend it, you still have your other goals. So you know the way you need to amend it to get back onto track, right? So the next step is we aren't willing to give up, or the next reason why making these changes can be hard is because we aren't willing to give up what is holding us back. So what is holding you back? Let's say you want to start your own business, right? But you're binge watching TV in your free time. So you spend all your free time just binge watching TV. You don't have any time for your business because you're working a 9 to 5 job. You get home, you eat, you watch TV, and you go to bed. You wake up, you do the same thing over and over and over. So how are you going to be able to start your own business if you're not giving yourself the time of day to be able to start working on that business, right? And another example, maybe you want to start feeling better. You want to start feeling healthier. You want to start feeling like you have more energy, but you're not willing to give up the things like junk food, staying up late. You're not willing to give up, your nightly hours of drinking where you're just drinking way into the night. You got to be able to give up these things if you want to be able to start feeling better. So why would we Why would we be doing these things? Like, that's the opposite of our goal, right? Why would we be sabotaging our goals? Well, a lot of it has to do with what you're linking pleasure or pain to. So for a lot of these things that people, are doing all the time, despite the fact that they have a goal to go around it, is that they link so much pleasure to it. So maybe it's alcohol, right? And they link that the alcohol is their way of having fun, their alcohol is their way of relaxing, and deep down they might believe that if they don't have that alcohol, they're not going to be able to have fun. They're not going to be able to relax. That's all they've ever known. That's all they have seen other people do is have fun and relax through drinking alcohol. So the thought of not having the alcohol would mean that they wouldn't be able to relax. They wouldn't be able to have fun. So they would be in a worse spot afterwards. And that's why you're part of your mind's the subconscious thinks. So you're linking too much pleasure to that and not enough pain. You got to change it to the painful part. And you got to use your pain to your advantage, because the subconscious will usually avoid the painful things. It usually helps you avoid those painful things because it doesn't want to, feel that pain. And that's really what a lot of people are missing out on when they sedate themselves. And they're constantly so busy. They're constantly um, drinking alcohol. They're constantly smoking marijuana. They're constantly binge watching food, or binge watching television, or binge eating food, because they don't want to feel the pain they're in. They don't want to feel the reality of the situation they're in. But you gotta feel that pain. You gotta really listen to what that pain's telling you. Oftentimes that pain is there for a reason. That pain is there to tell you, hey, you need to make some changes. That disease, that sickness is there to tell you, hey, things aren't working out for what we're doing right now. We need to start making changes so we can move towards a better life, right? So maybe for the alcohol thing, you can link pain to it. Think about how this is holding you back. Think about how you're harming the people around you. Think about how you're harming yourself. Think about how when you wake up in the morning, you have no energy. You feel like crap. Think about all the money you're spending on it. Start to amplify that pain, and you're not going to want to drink that alcohol as much anymore. Start to minimize the pleasure and focus on that pain. Really feel that pain, and you'll notice yourself naturally gravitating away from it. Same thing for junk food, right? You're linking so much pleasure. Oh, it tastes so good. Oh man, and it tastes so good. It's cheap, and I can just sit here. I get that dopamine rush. It feels so good. It feels amazing. It tastes so good. But you're linking all that pleasure to it. So of course you're not going to want to give it up. You're not going to want to give that thing up because you have so much pleasure, so much um, reason to continue doing it. You gotta lean pain to it. Oh, this junk food is made of. Look at this. Look at these ingredients. I don't want to put that in my body. That's so harmful to me. And part of it is just knowing what is in a lot of these ingredients. That can help you step away, or knowing how these things affect you. That can help you to start stepping away and linking pain to things. So this junk food is holding me back from having a healthy body, from feeling like I'm enough. This junk food is making it so I don't have the energy I need throughout the day. This junk food makes me feel bad about myself every time I eat it, right? Feel that pain and avoid linking so much pleasure to something. For me, I'll give you an example in my life. Marijuana. This is something I didn't want to give up. I told myself it made me feel good. It made me relax. And I told myself that, marijuana is not that bad. I don't think it's a terrible thing. I think can have some many good uses, but when you're smoking every single day, I think it can hold you back in a lot of ways. It makes you feel comfortable. It helps you sedate your pain so that you don't start making the moves towards your life, right? You feel comfortable with where you are. You feel comfortable with where you are, and it's a sticky substance, right? So you feel comfortable with where you are, and you feel stuck in that situation, and you're okay with it because you have something to rely on. You have that vice to hold you down. So once I started letting that go, I started to feel the pain of where I was. I started to link more pain to it, the pain of not being able to do the things I want, not to be able to create my business, not to be able to run forward, the pain of, showing my son that I was relying on smoking marijuana. I have a 4-month-old. I didn't want to be seen as someone who, in my son's eyes, who relies so heavily on a substance to be able to live my life and to be able to feel happy with myself and be able to feel good and relax. I didn't want to be that kind of role model. So I linked that pain to it, that I was going to be, a bad example to my son. I linked that pain to it, that I was stuck with where I was and feeling comfortable because I just kept smoking over and over and over. So think about what you're linking what are you linking pleasure or pain to in your life? How can you change that around so that you can make the changes you want? So those are really the main reasons why we might be avoiding change. There's probably other reasons out there, but these are the main ones that I came up with right now. You know, you got to think about it this way: like, what are you afraid of? What conflicting goals, thoughts, or beliefs do you have in your mind? Are you holding some kind of thoughts in your subconscious and some in your conscious, and you're feeling that battle? Remember, the subconscious mind oftentimes will win because it's actually the more powerful part of our mind. It has 95% of our total brain power. The good news is you can use some of these techniques. You can use some of the things I've talked about if you know your plan, if you're using the visualization, if you're using affirmations, if you change your thinking, if you start to link pain to the things that you want to give up and pleasure to the things that you want, if you start to link a bunch of pleasure to the healthy eating. That's actually something else I want to talk about really quick about that, is if you start to link pleasure to maybe the healthy food, then that's going to be very helpful. But a lot of people think, oh, I have to spend too much money on this. Oh, it doesn't taste as good. Oh, I'd have to work out, and that sucks, right? They're linking pain to it. So they're not going to want to do it because they're linking that pain. So really think about what you're linking pain to in your life. If you're trying to make changes towards something, are you linking a lot of pain towards that thing, and that's why you're not able to make the moves towards it? So if you created a plan, if you changed what you're linking pleasure or pain to, these can be very powerful things that you can do to change your ability to be able to make the changes in your life. Make a plan, make that vision board. So overall, the main things I'd recommend doing to make these changes is to think long term, to think about what you're doing and how these things are going to affect you. Because if you're thinking short term only, you're not going to be thinking about how your actions, your daily actions are going to be affecting you, right? You're only going to be thinking about that short term gratification, that the short term fix, that dopamine fix, that instant relaxation, that feeling of feeling safe, right? But oftentimes that feeling of feeling safe, that safety that our subconscious mind is seeking out, doesn't mean that we're going to be healthy. It doesn't mean that we're going to be successful. It doesn't mean that we're going to be wealthy. Oftentimes it means the opposite. Oftentimes it means that we're going to be broke, that we're going to be sick, we're going to be diseased, we're going to be, um, ill health. We're not going to be feeling happy and feeling good with ourselves. We're going to have a broken relationship because that's what it's seen. That's what it's been mimicking. So you need to start making these changes. There's internal work you got to do where you create those vision boards. You visualize what you want to do. You visualize your goals, your plans, and your things. You create different ways of thinking. You create different affirmations, and make sure you listen to my affirmations podcast or episode. It can be found on YouTube. I'll link it in the description. So what are you assigning pleasure or pain to, right? Changing your um, and that's kind of like your beliefs as well around it, right? Your beliefs towards how you feel it towards something and how it affects you in your life. And then you got to start taking action because it's really important that you take those actions to take you towards the things. Looking at those small goals like we were talking about. Don't miss out on those small goals. Every day you can be taking something towards the change that you want. If you want to be eating healthier, you got to be thinking about what you're going to be eating that day. You got to think about what kind of exercise you can get. And sometimes I think it's important to note that over exercising can be unhealthy as well. So you got to listen to your body. It's okay not to work out every single day. You can work out every other day. You can work out every 2 days if you're just starting and you're feeling very sore, right? You gotta let your body rebuild back up. But whatever you do, don't do nothing. Or whatever you do, avoid doing nothing, I should say. Avoid um, just giving up and saying that you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, that you're going to whatever. You got to put in the work. You got to um, change the way you're thinking, and you got to take action. Don't let yourself or other people tell yourself that you're not good enough or that you're going to fail, right? Prove them wrong. Prove yourself wrong. Get out there and start making the changes. Start taking the actions towards the life that you want. The sooner you start, the sooner you'll get to where your destination is. And never give up. If something's not working out, if you're not making progress, maybe you need to alter what actions you're taking to get to where you want. But it doesn't mean that your goal is out of reach or that your dream is out of reach. We can all achieve what we want in life. We can all create, the life that we want to be living. We just have to believe we can and take actions towards that. And if you need help, reach out to someone. There's people around who are glad to help, who have plenty of information, who've been through all these things that you're probably going through. I interview someone every Sunday who talks about what they were able to do and overcome in their life. I myself had my own self-sabotage story. So there's ways to overcome the self-sabotage. Don't allow yourself to believe that you can't overcome it. We can all overcome self-sabotage. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what you've experienced. Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter what age you are. Doesn't matter any of that, right? We're all able to overcome it. And believing you're not is self-sabotage in itself. So change your thinking. Think big picture. Use your visualization. Use your whole mind to your advantage. Cut out those negative influences. Start putting in better influences. Start listening to positive podcasts. Start listening to and reading better books. Start watching things that are going to be making you a better person instead of leading you down a path and causing you to mimic something that you don't want to be mimicking in your life, right? Because the whole thing about self-sabotage is doing something or taking any illogical or irrational action is bringing you away from the life you want. So let's say you are watching Shameless all the time. You're literally programming yourself towards that kind of life, towards that destructive, that crazy, drunk, cheating, broken relationship kind of life where something goes wrong every single moment. Do you really want that in your life? Cut that out of your life and start making something better. Start making those changes. A technique you can use right now, who I learned from, and I learned this from Mel Robbins, and you might have heard from her. It's called the 5-second rule. And no, it's not the 5-second rule where you pick food off the ground and eat it within 5 seconds. Although that's what I thought of as well too when I first heard it. The 5-second rule is when, let's say you're encountering some kind of procrastination or some kind of negative thoughts in your head, or you should be working out, but you just don't want to do it. So start right now and think about it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get up and do it. Get up and do it. Go. Right? In those 5 seconds, you can change a lot. So as soon as you have that feeling that you don't want to do it and you should be doing it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and get up and go. And the story behind this is Mel Robbins was stuck in bed. She was drinking and feeling horrible about herself. And she literally, she didn't have a job. She just would literally lay in bed all day and keep hitting the alarm and not get out of bed. And then finally, when she was watching I think it was like NASA or something, she saw a rocket fly off. And she told herself, I just got to be like a rocket and go. And they had the countdowns for the rocket, right? So one time when she was in her bed in the morning, she told herself she didn't want to get up. She said, be like a rocket. She said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And she just got up and got out. And that changed her whole life. And that can be what you can do as well. And the reason why this is so powerful is because it uses the visualization. I'm not sure if when you think of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now that when I talked about the rocket, you think about the rocket shooting out. Think about that. Use your visualization. You're that rocket, and you fly off and start moving towards your goal, right? You use that motion, that symbolism to start moving towards something you want. So there's many different techniques you can use. I've covered them in many of my videos. So if you want to learn more, check out my other podcasts, check out my other videos where you can learn. But these are the main reasons, some of the main reasons why we avoid making changes, you know, because they're why we avoid making these changes. And actually one thing I do want to talk about as well, really quick, is it has to do with the subconscious mind. And I know I've talked about what's familiar, right? What is the most familiar thing in your surroundings? But we also need to think about, what our parents did, what are the authority figures are doing, right? Because something else that your subconscious mind ranks as something safe is what the authorities are doing, what your parents might have done, what your teachers are doing. Those things all have an impact on you as well. So if you're paying attention to a lot of what your authority is saying, and I'm not saying to always cut out authority, but a lot of times they can actually be influencing you in the wrong way. So just be aware of that. If you're only listening to what the government says, you may be leading yourself down a path of bad path. If you're taking the word that the government agencies are there to protect you and are stopping all harmful substances from coming into the markets, then you would be leading yourself down a very dark path because there's a lot of food, junk food. There's a lot of processed foods. There's a lot of chemicals and compounds and pesticides and fungicides used in a lot of our foods that is not very healthy. So you got to start to become aware of these things, and you got to be the person to filter out what is good and what is bad. No one else can do it for you. So you got to start taking these actions. Use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule. Make a plan, change your thinking, and change what you're assigning pleasure or pain to. And if you do these things, and if you start taking actions, daily actions towards your goals, you'll find that you'll be able to make these changes. You might find some resistance from the subconscious mind trying to pull you back down like that crab in the bucket, right? But that's okay because it's not about perfection. Making these changes is not about perfection. It's not about perfecting yourself. It's about progression. It's about moving forward just a little bit every single day. If you've moved forward even a step or two forward, that's good news. Congratulate yourself. Feel good about it. Link that pleasure to moving forward. Stop linking pain to your progress, and that'll be very, very helpful. Anyways, I hope you guys learned a little bit about change, why we avoid it, it's hard to make these changes, and some things that you can do to start making these changes so that you can create the life that you want, so that you can overcome self-sabotage. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please, do whatever is respective to the platform you're on by just showing that you enjoyed it. Share it with other people. If you have questions about it, put in the comments in the questions. I would love to answer any questions you may have. If you want to work with me, check the link below. You can schedule a free strategy call with me, and we can talk some more about, maybe some changes you're struggling with or something that you're sabotaging yourself in your life. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you have a fantastic day. My name is Tanner, and this is Self-Sabotage Solutions, and we talked about creating and making new and better changes today. Thank you.